Dear teacher, you said before, now I'm in trouble probably. You said before that the Buddha, before passing away, guided his followers to follow the Dharma and did not permit to a specific teacher, did not point to a specific teacher. I also heard that during that time, the Buddha said that in the future, he will show up in the character of a teachers of Dharma. I've learned that Buddhism teaches that a deep connection with heart teachers with the personal heart teachers is essential in order to achieve the required results and complete the way. What's your position on this? My position is very clear. That yes, you need a teacher, of course. Even in ordinary life, if you want to become a carpenter, you need somebody to teach you how to do carpentry. Carpentry is something that we can see. Still there we need a teacher. Then what need is there to talk about the need of a teacher when you are talking about making this spiritual journey to an unknown world where we have no idea? You definitely need a teacher. You definitely need a teacher. But teacher should be qualified teacher. Qualified teacher. Qualified teacher means the teacher should have many qualifications. If he's a teacher of Vinaya, he should fulfill certain qualifications. If he's a teacher of Sutra, he should fulfill certain qualifications. If he's a teacher of Tantra, he should fulfill certain qualifications. But again, the text says, however, unfortunately, in today's time of degeneration, it is very difficult to find a teacher who has all the qualifications. But he should be someone, at least he or she should be someone who fulfill at least minimum of 3 qualifications. One, he should have genuine compassion towards his students and followers. If he has genuine compassion towards his students and followers, then he will not cheat his students. He will not take advantage of his students. Otherwise, unfortunately, the so-called teachers are also human beings. Just by wearing a robe and sitting on a slightly higher throne, which you prepared, they will not make you a qualified teacher, honestly speaking. So as soon as you get that privileged position, human beings are everywhere same, you see. Like even Mao Zedong, before he was a great leader, it seems he really wanted to work for the benefit of the countless peasants, farmers. But when he became powerful, when he became the leader, he was drunk by his power. And many people get intoxicated by the power, the position, the name and fame. Then he started thinking that he is somebody superhuman. And it happens with many things, many people. In Tibet and in everywhere, there are some fake teachers who would shamelessly tell people that they are very special. They are enlightened beings. So that's why very often we hear that such and such person says he is a Buddha. Such and such person says she is a Buddha. They do that by themselves or a group who is working together for some reason. So therefore, the good real teacher should be compassionate, so that he will not exploit his students in terms of taking their money, in terms of taking advantage of them in many forms. So compassion. Compassion means clearly realizing that these are interested in Dharma. They are like any other sentient beings, want happiness, do not want suffering. So you should take special care. So compassion, that's the most important thing. Second, the teacher definitely should have more knowledge than you, otherwise he cannot teach. Now, more knowledge also means not a little bit more knowledge, but who has really studied extensively. And if possible, not only academic knowledge, but also a little bit experience through hearing, thinking, and meditating. So when you talk, then it's difficult to get good teachers who is in-depth knowledge. Many may have, like me, may have a lot of superficial knowledge by reading books. But what about the experience? What about the meditation? So many things you may be lacking, you see. So therefore, a good teacher should have not only the capacity to teach profound subjects, clarify the doubts of people, not by inventing, but in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha. Otherwise, you can say anything, you see. But it should be in accordance with the yardstick is whether your teaching conforms to the teaching of the Buddha or not. Then thirdly, he should have patience. In the sense, he should be somebody who is not easily tired by giving teachings, who is ready to sit with the students and explain. It's tiring. It's not easy. So therefore, he should be somebody, and especially those teachers out. It's for us, like it's visiting and talking few, workshops. It's not so difficult. But there are teachers who constantly stay with their students, year in, year out. You see? So the teacher should also not be easily tired when people ask questions or ask their help, you see. So these are the basic qualifications that is necessary. So therefore, this question is important because many people, they just run after the name and fame. They run after everybody. You can run after everybody and listening to everybody, of course, as a lecture. What I'm giving you is a lecture, Buddhist talk. You call it Dharma teaching, whatever you call it. So that does not make me your teacher. Your teacher, you have to choose carefully, not just by listening to one text teaching. If somebody gives a very good teaching and you're very attracted, wonderful, okay, you got benefit, that's good. But that does not make that person your teacher. So therefore, as far as this question of finding a good teacher, the Buddhist text is, they say it should not be like the meeting of a dog and a piece of meat. If you throw a piece of meat to a dog, it will have no time to taste it. It will immediately jump and grab and eat it. So it should not be like that. Take time. Of course, even when you listen to somebody's lecture, you get benefit. You appreciate that lecture was wonderful. Whatever good things you want to say, you say it. That's the normal human way. But that does not make that person your teacher. You need to take time. So I meet people, looking for a teacher. Geshe, I'm really looking for a good teacher. Can you please give me some suggestion? You take His Holiness as your teacher. The teacher doesn't have to be sitting there with you all the time. It looks like marriage, but it's not marriage. And in fact, the teachings, they say that you should stay not too close to the teacher and not too far away from the teacher. Because if you stay too close to the teacher, then again, as human beings, will be finding the faults, not the qualities. If you stay too far away from the teacher, you will not be able to receive his teachings and his blessings. So it should be like how we sit near the fire. If you sit too near, the fire will burn you. If you sit too far, you will not get the warmth of the fire. So just as you, use the fire, so similarly is the relation with the teacher. So, but a good teacher is. And therefore the Buddha was saying that the most important thing, he's not saying teacher is not needed, but what he's saying is most important thing is the teaching. Teaching. You must have heard about this teaching called the 4 reliances. 4 reliances. Have you heard about that? 4 reliances. Which says, out of the person and the teaching, rely more on the teaching than on the person. That means do not run after somebody because he or she is famous. We have this tendency to run after popularity. You see. So the text says, do not run after the teacher, the person or the teacher, but the teaching. If somebody is really giving a good teaching, then you should go after that. Not just somebody who has a big name. Of course, I am not saying somebody who has a big name, not necessarily bad teacher also. But what I'm saying is not just run after the knowledge, the qualification, if there is a choice. Then with the teaching, rely more on the meaning than on the word, beauty of the word. So when he's giving the teaching, he may be very eloquent in using different terms and beautiful words, but if it's devoid of much meaning, then it's not good enough. So the meaning should be good. As far as the understanding of the meaning is concerned, rely more on the definitive meaning than on the interpretative meaning. That means the Buddha gave two levels of teachings, at least, because he cannot right away give the ultimate teaching to everybody, because there are so many people with different mental dispositions and capacities. So just like, going from kindergarten to PhD, it has to be systematic. So he cannot give the most ultimate teaching to the beginners. So therefore, for those beginners who are not yet ready to receive the ultimate teaching, he gives a teaching which that person can understand, which in the long run. So out of these two, at the end of the day, you should rely more on the definitive teaching than on the interpretative teaching. Now, when it comes to understanding the definitive meaning of the teaching, rely more on the wisdom mind than on the grosser level of the mind. When it comes to understanding the definitive meaning, rely more on the pristine consciousness, the wisdom mind, than the grosser level of the mind. So these are called the four reliances. So it's important to, as is said in these four reliances also, the teaching is more important than the teacher. You see. Because the one that will directly hurt the afflictive emotions is the teaching taught by the teacher. Okay. So therefore, actually speaking, the scriptures are more important than the images, because the scriptures represent the teaching. I remember very clearly when some years back, I think 2006 probably, His Holiness asked me to come with him to Sikkim and Darjeeling and that area, Kalimpong and that area. So when we were in Sikkim, His Holiness was requested to inaugurate that huge statue, Buddha statue, very big one. So in his speech, His Holiness said, "Wonderful that you have completed successfully the construction of this great Buddha image." Then he looked at these people who are responsible. He said, "So do you think this image will give you teaching?" He's very sharp, His Holiness is very pragmatic and very sharp. Do you think this image will... This image is, of course, you collect merit, that's wonderful, but do you think it will give teaching? So he said, "I don't think so." So therefore, teachings on the walls, not just images, teachings. Do not do anything that is negative, do everything that is positive. Completely transform your mind. This is my teaching. Verses like this, beautifully printed. Then when people come for the teaching also, they read all this. And many of these good teachings will stay in their mind, you see. So I mean, in your Dharma friends activities also, you can use different methods like that, like publishing some of these very, very selected powerful verses, and then it's just one page or half a page even, nicely, and then distributing it to such gatherings, So then they will take it as a souvenir when they go back also. They'll remember it. So I have been thinking about so many things, but always busy one after another, never being able to do that. Because I go to different places giving these kind of talks, so which is good. But then after the talks, there should be something for the people to remember. See, we always need a reminder, like this is a reminder, you see. So it will be very, very useful. Yeah. So did this answer the question? Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you please explain the difference, or maybe no difference, when I'm in a life danger and there is maybe an instinct, I keep, I want to protect my body as an instinct. Is it the same or different from the instinct to keep myself, to look after the self, to grasp the self?
This is different.
What difference?
There is a difference. There is a difference. It's instinctual. Of course, instinctually also you have that self-grasping. But this instinctual wish to protect yourself is actually right. There's a reason to do that. But most of the occasions, without much reason, we develop this grasping to oneself, without much reason. And in many cases, almost like intentionally. So those are like, there are a lot of, relations between the two, but there is a difference.
And connected to this question,
Yeah.
two animals,
Yeah.
When they kill an animal to eat,
Yeah.
they don't have the motivation to harm anybody. They do it to keep the.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that they have sort of negative karma, but still, the motivation wasn't to harm anybody.
Exactly. So this is a good question. This is a very important question, because many Western scientists, they say that many of these negative emotions, probably almost all of the negative emotions, according to them, they say they are natural. They are natural to defend yourself, to protect yourself, to look after yourself. These emotions come naturally. So they are necessary. Generally, they say things like that. So therefore, I don't know. I should not pretend that I have all the answers. I did give some thought to this. So at least, like, even Western scientists, like for example, if you're chased by a tiger, then when you see the tiger coming towards you and then develop fear, that's, I think, reasonable fear. The scientists are talking about that in one sense. Because if you don't have that fear, that mechanism of fear, you will not run. If you don't run, you will be killed by the tiger, you see. So therefore, biologically, there are certain protective, defending mechanisms within your body, which are necessary, not necessarily negative emotion. So therefore, now we need to make a boundary, a demarcation, to what level these are biologically needed things, or at what times it becomes destructive negative emotion. So this I can't answer. We have to do more experiment and more research, more analysis. I should not pretend that I have all the answers. But at least what we can notice is that when you have unchecked greed, unchecked anger, I do not know whether I should use the word more than needed, more than needed, then definitely it's destructive. Then definitely it's negative emotion. more than needed, I would say. So the more than needed means that, again, you are saying that there are certain, emotions that are needed. Like in some occasions, even some kind of anger may be needed. So the question is now, what about this anger? Is it afflictive emotion or not? So this is something that we need to do more research.
Many times, our teachers gave us as an example to check to define the self, to feel the self.
Yeah.
Tell us that we stand on a cliff.
Yeah.
And we have the feeling that you're falling down.
Yeah.
And then and then I don't know. I was thinking that it's the instinct of keeping my life, but is it the self there, or is it the instinct to keep me alive? When I just to fall, just about to fall from the cliff.
Yeah. So this like this just notion of self itself is not afflictive emotion. Of course, we need to make this distinction. Just this notion of idea of I and self, that's not negative emotion, because I is there, self is there. So that's why I made this distinction. But when you start seeing this I as having independent existence or independently existing I, as and when you develop that, then there is self-grasping, negative emotion. So there's the distinction. But the ordinary conception of I is there even with the Buddha. The Buddha clearly says, at that point, such and such point of the time, I gave that teaching. So that has nothing to do with afflictive emotion. It's just the conventional I, recognizing and talking about that conventional I. So that is no problem. But when you see that I having absolute independent existence, then it's the source of all the afflictive emotions.
But actually, this is the only I, most of us, or at least I see at the moment, an inherent existing I.
Yeah.
Even what I learn differently, even I know and believe that it's not there, that's the I perceive and feel on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And if this is the I perceive, then that's afflicted emotion, right?
Afflictive emotion in the sense, because for us ordinary people, to perceive an I without having an inherent conception of inherently independently existing I, it's very difficult. Very difficult, because we are so used and conditioned with that. See. But the mere conception of I is like the conception of this tablecloth or paper, you see. Just by seeing this table or paper, not necessarily that you develop a strong concept of this paper existing independently or not. But when it comes to yourself, the grasping towards the self is so strong. You're conditioned with that. So it's very rare not to have that perception. But this does not mean to say that every time you look at the eye, you develop and see that as having independent existence. No, because there are occasions when you see this eye having no independent existence. There are also you are perceiving eye, but you are not seeing that eye as having independent existence.
Still, I can again.
Yeah.
Again, for this example of standing on the cliff. When I'm about to fall, why should I feel like I have to protect the self? I have to protect my body and mind, not the self. So why they say that?
Because you are used to with this term. Since from your birth, you've been talking about I all the time. You're conditioned with that thinking, so it comes automatically. Because in whatever area you are conditioned, it comes automatically to your mind.
Still without grasping necessarily.
Not necessarily grasping. But of course, in our case, as I said, we have strong grasping. But the fear will be less. If you don't have that strong grasping, there will be less fear or no fear at all. Yeah. Because when you see everything like an illusion, then there's no grasping. When you, in the case of the Buddha, it is said because he has self, but no grasping of the self. Therefore, he is not bothered about whether somebody is praising him or somebody is defaming him. Not only in terms of the language, but also in terms of actual deed. It is said that if there is one person sitting here on the right side of the Buddha, massaging his body with sandal perfumes, praising the Buddha and massaging his body with the sandal perfumes, one person. Left side of his body, there's another person who hates Buddha, and you see with a sharp knife he's cutting pieces of flesh from the Buddha's body, but he would not see any difference between the two. And Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara says that when you get rid of this self-grasping, and when you have developed this genuine bodhicitta towards others, then you will not see your body different from a vegetable. We chop vegetable like that and you don't have any feeling. Similarly, you chop your body, still you will have no problem. Of course, right now it's unthinkable for us. Unthinkable, but I'll give you an example and you will understand. You laugh and join me. I'll give you an example. Even in the case of ordinary people, non-practitioners, a mother who has so much love for her child, when she sees the child is drowning or falling into a pit, the mother, as I said yesterday, without a second question, will immediately jump to save the child. So at that time, the mother is totally oblivious of her things. She is able to brave the fire.
She's not separated from the child.
Whatever you call it, but she doesn't have that. At that point, she just more or less forgot about her because of that overpowering love for that child. Similarly, in the case of the strong negative emotions also, like people who go into war, fight with enemy, because they develop that very strong negative emotion and let the negative emotion rule you. You forget about yourself, that you will be killed, you will be harmed. They're totally oblivious and they jump and go in the front line of the enemy and get killed. You see? So you can be influenced by both the positive and negative emotions in such a way that this doors. Any questions?
There was one that he used the word suchness.
Yeah.
And suchness and emptiness are this
Same. Because the Tibetans use different words.
journey.
So people try to use different English words. Chunyi, the Chunyi means the phenomenology or the nature of the phenomena. Tungbanyi, emptiness. Tikonanyi, suchness. Tikonanyi, suchness. Tishini, probably naturalness. There are so many terms, different terms, but same meaning. Yeah.
You mentioned in this course something from the previous course about karma and the free choice or fate.
Yeah.
And every day I make choices, and every day I feel that I follow the choices that I made. But when I analyze it, according to what I studied on karma, how I have a free choice. Every experience that I experience is, could you please explain or give example when the cause or the conditions are not due, which I experience are not due I note ripening of grapes or
The few things, as I said already, you can choose. Definitely, you can choose whether to, for example, whether to stand up or sit. I mean, as simple as that. Not only karma, but if you say that I have no choice to stand or sit, I mean, that contradicts our common sense. Okay, so we definitely have choice to get up and sit down. And some people go to the extreme. They say, "Oh, even you're thinking that you have the choice to stand up is also because of past karma." If you people go to that extreme, then I have no answer. You see, I have no answer. People say, "Oh, even you're going to bathroom is not out of your choice, but it's past karma." So that is wrong. That's wrong. It's wrong in the sense because one, when we talk about choice, the karma, as I explained in the other workshop, that the karma is situated or explained within the general context of law of causality. The law of causality functions within sentient beings or within non-sentient beings or within other inanimate objects. Law of causality functions. But when we talk about karma, then it's related to a doer, an agent. We do not talk about the karma of the tree or karma of the rock. We talk about karma relating to a sentient being, an agent who does something, and as a result, he or she experiences the fruit. So regarding that, as I said earlier, that we have the choice, as I already explained, that one, but there are so many, when we talk about karma, it's not just a big thing, up there, like the Lord of the Dead, deciding our fate. We're not talking about karma is not a person. It's done through the person, but karma itself is not a creator, not a big thing, big object up there deciding everybody's fate. It's not. Karma means the individual action of each and every people. Now, with this individual action of this individual people, there's so many actions that we have done in the past life. So many actions that we have done in the first part of our life already. So many actions we have done last year. So many actions that we will do, we did even today in the morning. So many actions we will do before we go to bed. So it's so many different activities that you do. And what activities that you, it's comes. That's why we talk about intention, as I said already. Intention. What kind of intention you have, what you want to do. That means choice. That means choice. So therefore, you may have committed something wrong, but you can rectify it with a new action. It's very commonsensical, very commonsensical. For example, in life also, if you like and when you did some action with a particular project, it went wrong. Then say, okay, what we did with the project last year was wrong. So this time we do it differently. We do it differently so that the project is successful. So you do a new kind of action or karma, and then you change the situation. So that's the meaning of choice, choosing. Okay. But as I said, the one doubt that is here is because even in the choosing, we make a lot of mistakes. We are not able to choose properly. So that's the problem. So as I said, in order to choose properly, we need to refine our mind, our wisdom. Then we'll be able to choose properly. Wrong choices we make, but we do have choices. Yeah. So karma has no, long time back I wrote an article. Karma has no fatalistic notion. Fatalistic notion. Fatalistic means, karma means your fate is destined and doomed, Fatalistic. No concept. Karma simply means action. Wherever there is an action, there is a reaction. It's scientific, action and reaction. And they even use the term boomerang effect. Boomerang effect, boomerang. Yeah. Yes. So did you think about during your meditation, did you think about the law of nature? What did you think?
The law of nature was the topic for the discussion group.
Discussion group. So when you discussed on this law of nature, what interesting things came about? Did you say it's really important to understand the law of nature to become happier and more peaceful? Did you come to such conclusions?
I have a question about that.
Yeah, please.
We make a lot of time distinction between, let's say, nature,
Uh,
my nature, and my Buddha nature.
yeah.
So it's like my nature is a lot of times we use it as a negative thing. My
No,
nature, it's my nature to get sad, to turn.
not even in the ordinary sense.
Yes.
Your nature is to get upset. Your nature is to get angry, but that is not the whole story. That your nature is compassionate. Your nature is like happy. The good things are also there.
I'm not supposed to overcome my nature in order to get to my Buddha nature, or to.
No. You don't have to overcome your nature. You need to recognize your nature.
My true nature.
True nature, exactly. True nature. So Buddha nature means basically the subtlemost mind. Subtlemost mind, the clear light mind we call it. The subtle, very subtle, the subtlemost mind. The subtlemost mind. All of us have this very subtle mind that has the capacity to develop at its fullest extent, to get enlightened. The capacity is there. That is the potential. That clear light mind, the basic mind, the subtlemost mind, it is luminous and cognitive. So if you nurture it, it will flourish, and gradually that mind can become an omniscient mind. So that capacity, that potential in the form of that subtlemost mind is called Buddha nature. And that we believe is there with all sentient beings, not only human beings, but with all sentient beings. Because we believe that if you look at the very subtle nature of the mind, it is pure. It is only covered by temporary defilements, just like a glass covered by dust. Although right now you cannot see the clarity of the mirror or the glass because it's covered by dust, does not mean to say are in the very nature of the glass. They are not there. So all you need to do to see the clarity of the mirror is just remove the dust. Then the clarity of the mirror will shine out. So similarly, the stains, that's good news, which are very destructive as we have been discussing. However destructive and strong they are, but still they are temporary nature of the mind, adventurary. So the fundamental nature of the mind is not polluted by afflicted emotions. It's simply covering it. Remove it, it will shine out. Probably some indication when we go to sleep and we get a very, undisturbed dream, then your mind is more clear. You see, whatever you're dreaming, many times it's really very clear, more clear than when you're awake, you see. So that probably shows the nature of that clear light mind. Yes.
It's very difficult for me to understand the big contradiction in myself between the very strong belief that I have the potential to, to, to have a bigger mind, a wider mind, a more compassionate and more wisdom mind. I'm very sure about it, but I don't do enough to get there.
That's the thing. That's the thing. One, we are so conditioned by past is come out of it. Despite talking about coming out of it 100 times. And I have that experience. All of us have that experience. Before I became a translator to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I used to sit with any other monks, take my book, and when he's teaching, I listen very carefully and make notes. And then I'm so inspired by his teaching. I said, must do something now. I will do practice now. And that strong inspiration, that wish to do something, which is very strong at that point. You know how long it lasts?
2 seconds.
No. It's more dramatic than 2 seconds. It lasts up to the door of the temple. When the teaching finishes, cross the door and mix with the rest of the crowd. It's really like, to me, it's really like saying, welcome back to the world. It's really, you are just completely overwhelmed. It's not easy. So therefore, but not being easy does not mean that we should get discouraged. I mean, life is like that. Sometimes you get discouraged, then you need to see about the good things that you have done, get more encouraged. But if you're becoming too arrogant, then you should see how much progress you have. Bring down the spirit a little bit. You have to be very careful, you see. My teachers used to always tell that to me. But if you compare, like I tell you this very interesting story about who once she's came to me. She said, Geshe, like years and I'm not making any progress in my spiritual practice. What should I do? I said, go back to your country. I said, go back to your country. And I'm sure she may not have taken it in a good way. She might have found it a little bit blunt. So anyway, not because of I said it, but somehow she probably was going back to her country. She went back to her country. Then after some time, she came back to me one day, said, Kishila, thank you very much. I said, what? When I came to you saying that I'm not making much progress in my, practice, then you said, go back to your country. But I did not understand what you're saying at that time. Now I understand. So I asked her, how? She said, now when I went back to my country and compared with the way people are leading their life, I was able to clearly see how these people are doing these things. Why they are doing these things, why they are wasting their life in this way, in that way. I can help them. So many things that she came to realize by comparing herself to the way other people live, you see. So that's also important. Sometimes when you get discouraged, sometimes I also start thinking, yeah, I'm supposed to be Buddhist monk and practitioner for so many years. There's hardly any difference between me and ordinary people, you see. But when you compare to some people who almost their whole life keep on harming other people, and in many cases killing other people, where will they go? Compared to them, we are quite enlightened. So it's important. So therefore, the Buddha, in one, now I don't remember that very clearly, it is said that when you have done something good, it's very, very important to rejoice it. By clearly understanding that these good things, practices that we do, they have a very influential and strong to our deeds. So it's not just the negative deeds overwhelming us all the time, and the positive deeds that we do have no effect, no power. It's not like that. So it clearly says the positive things that we do For example, if you generate positive hormone, it is a tremendous effect in outdoing the negative things. So we do. And then also another important thing is that these spiritual developments are not like material development, not material thing. So you cannot calculate in the case of the material terms, you work for 1 month, at the end of the month, you get the solid money. You're able to see it, yes, this 10,000 shekels or whatever. But still, spiritual development, you don't see like that, you see. So what you can do is compare the way you used to live your life before you become a Buddhist or before you started Buddhist practice. Compare it with the present way of life. Then you will see. Like I already among those of you who I met, many of you are like pure vegetarian. Amazing. You see. You don't drink anything like that, you see. It's a wonderful practices. It's already there's a lot of changes like that, you see, which is really good. And it's for you so in so many ways good, you see. It saves the money, it saves the life of other sentient beings, so many good things, you see. So we cannot become enlightened in one day, but whatever we are able to do it, it's amazing. So like that. Yeah. Finished? Yeah. Yes.
Page 19. 19 ו-18. בזכות חסד זה, להוסיף במהרה את מצב הגבורה, ולהוביל למצב זה את כל הנודדים עד אחד. תודעת ההערה היא תקרת הערך, שטרם נולדה תיוולד. וזו שנולדה ותשגה בארץ זו המוקפת פרסי עמים ושלבים, לכל רווחה והעושר ללא יוצא מן הכלל. אבל במשמר הרם העוצמה, איזה ידיעצו, תוותר על כסף.
Thank you. Good night.
Nice.